Hi everybody, welcome back. If this is your first time viewing, welcome. I am going to do things a little bit differently today. So I took a couple weeks off. I spent some time with my family. My parents are moving. And while we were packing and unpacking, and I started to think about my childhood home, the place where I spent most of my time growing up. I really wanted to focus this video on sharing a little bit more about me, who I am, and I decided to do that in a sort of unique way by doing a speed build. So if you don't know what these are, this is a video of me building a house. Oh gosh. All right. That is essentially exactly what it sounds like. You build a house on The Sims and you'll see. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this, okay? How do you do picture in picture on here? Oh, I think I found it. I think I got it. This is a speed build on the base Sims 4 game for PlayStation 4. So I bought this game at the beginning of quarantine because I decided I wanted to play again. I haven't played it in so long. And, I didn't have the problem when you're a kid of not having enough space. Fortunately, the consoles are capable of handling it, right? So I decided I wanted to get back into this, play it a little bit, and then I started watching YouTube tutorials on how to do different things, and I learned new tips and tricks and things, and then I really discovered these things called speed builds. And essentially it's just really, really talented people playing The Sims and showing their houses, but sped up. This is the house that I spent the majority of my life growing up in. This was in Cincinnati, suburb north of Cincinnati, and I just enjoyed living in this house. It's very homey. It feels really comfortable to me. And it's just one of those things where I wanted to give you a little piece of me, So I'm also going to give you like a little tips and tricks as we go. So if you ever do play The Sims, I would highly recommend it if you don't. It's a really fun game and it's really customizable. So what I'm doing right now is I'm building the garage. Now in The Sims, they don't have cars, so a garage isn't really important, but I wanted to stay true to my house. So I built little rooms on top, and that gives you the opportunity to build those little eaves on the front. And then I put 2 pillars on either side, and then I just filled in the inside with paneling or with siding and windows. So it makes it look like a garage, right? So I'm doing a little bit of a cheat here, okay? So on your PlayStation 4, you can hold all 4 of these buttons all at the same time, and a little window will show up like that, and it will allow you to put in cheats. So I'll put those in the video. I'll put it in post. You'll see. The only reason I do the cheat is so that I can get that window in right next to the garage. If I didn't do that, I couldn't put the window there, and it is how our house looked, so I just decided why not. I don't really ever use it again. It's just so I can move an object so it interacts with another object. It allows you to put things kind of overlapping and right next to one another. So I spent majority of my childhood in this house. My parents just moved into a new home, and I was helping them out a little bit. If you're watching this from Ohio, sorry I didn't call you. I didn't want to have to worry too much. I just wanted to help them out. I spent a really long time trying to get this bathroom right. It was tough. Now, I like to keep the grid on. For me, it's just like a little more functional, but if you don't like it, turn it off. It's totally fine. One thing that I realized about this house was it didn't have very many windows. Really, the real house, didn't have that many, but it never felt dark or anything. It was always very comfortable, very cozy. And so I didn't really add anything more to it. I tried to keep it as true as possible to the original house. This is an area that I had to kind of fudge a little bit because The Sims doesn't allow you to put stairs underneath stairs. And if it does, and you know how, please put it in the comments because that I have yet to see. And I would love to learn how to do that. So anyway, I just put the stairs right next to it. I kind of cut into the garage. It's not that big a deal, right? All right, so now we're gonna build the upstairs. Now what's interesting is while I was building this house, I was thinking so much about the spaces that I spend the most time in. And with this house, I really did spend the most time either in my bedroom or in our basement. And it was a half-finished basement, but it was really kind of that space that I could go to. It was mine. We had our PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 2 at the time, down there. And our house was kind of one of those houses that everybody wanted to come to. It wasn't the biggest house by any means. It was really, really comfortable. And people just always liked it. I don't know. I always liked it, but I was partial. But people did really enjoy coming over and spending some time there. Something funny about this game, closets don't really matter. Like, the Sims just kind of spin and they have new clothes. And I think that's kind of funny. But I included them, like I said, for continuity purposes. Yeah, so this is the basic house, the structure and everything. What you're gonna see is coming up is a terrain tool. So what this does is it helps you kind of build up the terrain up and down. And like I said with the garage, it didn't really matter because there aren't any cars, but I wanted it anyway. So I used this kind of nice little terrain tool, and I watched a lot of videos on how to make sure that it actually looks good and things. But it's nice. You're gonna see that I add a lot of dirt to the house, but no plants. There are some plants in the front that were there since the time we moved in, but we were not a family with a green thumb, so we didn't really have a lot of like flowers or plants or anything like that. We had a lot of trees, and actually the trees in the backyard shed all these pine needles, and I was in charge of picking them up. And fun fact about me, I have terrible allergies, so I would go out and start picking up these pine needles and everything, and I would come inside and my entire face would just be swollen because I just was so allergic to everything. I don't know. I was what I was, but it's fine. So now we're just adding some lighting. I always find it easier to add flooring and paint and everything if there's a little bit more light in the house. And since, like I said, there aren't a ton of windows in this house, I decided to add the lighting in now. You can always add it later, whatever you want to do. So one of the reasons that I really got into this was because when I was a kid, I really wanted to be an architect. And I know that that's funny. Like I bake now, not professionally, but I love to bake. And I'm an actor, and I've got all these other things that I really enjoy doing. But when I was a kid, I really thought I was going to go into a career as an architect. And I loved The Sims. I loved playing The Sims for a lot of reasons, but I really loved building houses. So if you'll see in the corner of the screen, there's a little infinity sign. That's because I didn't even put a family in this house. I might eventually, who knows, maybe I'll build the 5 of us. But I didn't want to have to be limited by money. And there are cheats and everything that you can put money in and you have unlimited money, whatever. I was just like, you know what, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to build the house. And I didn't really care about the money aspect of it. So that's what I do. I love to build houses. I have so many houses that I've built and there's nobody living in them, but they have 12 bedrooms and 15 bathrooms. Because that's just what I like, you know? That's my style. I really enjoy building things that feel a little frivolous. I always have. When I was a kid, I would always use the rosebud cheat and then the 1, exclamation point, 1, exclamation point, 1, exclamation point. And to get my sim a lot of money. That was just what I like to do. You'll notice that the house is very monochromatic. So my mother went through these phases of painting where everything would be beige and then everything would be tan and then everything would be a lighter form of tan. And now she's into her blues and grays phases, which is my favorite. So I'm totally cool with it, Mom. It was essentially just 50 shades of beige in our house. So I'm doing the basement right now. And like I said, I spent the most time in this basement, but I probably spent the least time building it because a lot of it was storage. That giant room to the side is just a crawl space in the actual house. So I'm not going to fill it with anything. And then the middle room in the back is actually the laundry room. So since there's no laundry here, we'll deal with that later. So yeah, so now moving upstairs, we're just going to go ahead and paint everything. Like I said, it was a very neutral house. My mother loved moving furniture. She would paint everything, and then every time she would paint, it would be like, oh, well, now we have to rearrange because this furniture doesn't match this room really well. So we moved furniture probably every month, if that. When they moved into the house that they actually just moved out of, originally she wanted an open floor plan, and then she got the open floor plan, and it was really great for about 6 months, but then she realized that the couch, we had this huge sectional, it was too big for the room, so she couldn't move it around at all. So the couch was kind of stuck in the middle of this room, and she just was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do anymore. I can't move furniture. I always thought that that was really funny. So those are the pine trees that I was talking about, the ones that had the giant needles. I loved climbing trees. I loved climbing trees growing up, and that's why for this house the trees were really important. They were really big, very easily climbable. That was a big part of my growing up. So now you're seeing me put everything into the kitchen. A fun fact about kitchens in this game. So if you look in the corner, it says auto counters off, right? If you can turn that on or off, and really all that does is it makes you locked into a certain kind of counter and a certain type of cabinet. If you turn that off, you can make these little cabinets, or you can make really tall cabinets. And it's really nice just to kind of give you a little bit diversity in the style of the kitchen that you use. As you can see, this kitchen is not very large. And this is the kitchen that I, taught myself how to bake in. This is the kitchen that we cooked in 5 or 6 out of 7 nights a week. And my mother's biggest deal, I know I'm talking about my mom a lot in this video, it's just because I just saw her recently and I miss her. But yes, this house, the kitchen was kind of the hub of the family, and she would yell at us so hard if there were more than 3 people in the kitchen. You could not fit more than 3 people in this kitchen. So on this game, there are a lot of different fireplaces and, bookshelves and everything. Our house was really unique because it had these bookshelves built into the fireplace. So I tried to recreate that as best as possible, but sometimes it's tough. Oh, you are capable of shrinking and enlarging things in this game. I learned that recently. So if you hold down L2 and R2 on the PlayStation 4, you can actually increase or decrease the size by using the side buttons on the left arrows. You can increase or decrease the size of an item, which is really handy. I don't use it very frequently, but that's not even a cheat. That's just like main game use. I had no idea I could do that. So thanks, YouTube. I'll put in the comments or in the description, I'll put who I watch so you guys can also see, because they're really good at giving tips and tricks. I'm giving you a little bit, but they're really good. Also, they're just really fun to watch because they build houses so quickly. And I feel like that needs to be said. I am in no way a professional. I am in no way even moderately good at this game. I am an amateur. So if I can do this, anybody can do this. But it's also why I love The Sims. It doesn't really matter how good you are. You can make whatever you want. But yeah, maybe one day I'll show you some more houses because they're kind of fun. They're pretty big. But yeah, I grew up playing this game, and I grew up wishing that I could buy more expansion packs and everything, but I, didn't have the money, and we were a house where if you wanted something, you had to earn it, or you had to earn the money to get it yourself. And, I was like, I don't need it that bad. But also, every time I did get an expansion pack, because I did buy a couple, our computer would crash, and I found out it was because it just didn't have enough space. And if you remember, in the late 90s, early 2000s, computers did not have nearly as much space as they do now. So you would buy The Sims Making Magic, and I would try to install that into my computer, and it would take a whole day to install, and then I would go to play it, and it wouldn't load. So I just, base game it is. So that's what I did with this. I decided I'm not going to buy anything more. I'm going to try to just make it work with this, and I'm really happy with the results. I do think that the house turned out pretty good overall. As I said, my mom used to move furniture around a lot, so this may not have been the final iteration of this house, but this is the one that stands out to me the most in my memory. Because she liked to move furniture so much, it was always changing, so it didn't really matter the full layout. I just chose the one that I remember most clearly and the one that kind of sticks out in my head. I think it's kind of funny because I know that there are some things that I put in here that my parents haven't had in so long, but I don't really care because it's fun for me, and it's my game, and it's my memory. This is definitely kind of the place that when I look back at my childhood, or when I look back at my life as a kid, this is the house that I remember the most. Yeah, so this is my room in the back. I chose this wallpaper. I don't know really why. At one point, my room did have blue, but it didn't really have mountains on top. It just was that light blue, and then I used the leftover paint from my brother's room, because he did these 2 walls in red and these 2 walls in blue, and I used the leftover paint and created this stripy pattern on my room. But yeah, I spent probably 80% of the time growing up in my room, like every teenager. But I grew up in the suburbs, and I grew up with not much to do. I wasn't a big partier. I was kind of a boring kid. So for me, like my bedroom was my place of solitude. It was my place where I could go and be alone. And I knew nobody would bother me. So it was nice to just kind of have that space. And, you know, I think that it was a really interesting way to grow up because if you've ever lived in a suburb before, especially in the Midwest, especially in Ohio, there's not a whole lot to do. You know, being in New York now, there's so much all the time. Even during quarantine, there are so many things to do. There are so many more things to do than there are in the suburbs on a normal day. I was really lucky because I grew up just outside of Kings Island, which is a theme park if you don't know what it is. And our house was right there, you know. But for me, I spent most of my time either in my bedroom or in our basement. And the basement was particularly amazing in the summer because it's so humid and disgusting in Ohio in the summer. And our basement was always so cold. It was so nice. It was just this hodgepodge of furniture, just stuff randomly thrown everywhere. And it was just so amazing. There was this old couch in the basement that all the springs were gone. It was just these cushions. And I loved that couch. I loved that couch so much. There was a couch and then there was a futon. It was a mess. But I loved that basement. I loved going down there and just kind of hanging out with friends. Like I said, our house really kind of became the hub of friends coming over, people coming, staying over. My mom always hosted Christmas. Our house was decked out for Christmas, and my mother loves Christmas. So for us, this house was always the place where we would all gather, spend a lot of time, and just kind of enjoy each other's company. So that's why I chose to build it. You know, it just brings back a lot of really fond memories for me. And I hope that you enjoyed this speed build. If there's any tricks that you would like to share with me, please go ahead and add them in the comments, and I'll be sure to try them out. Alright guys, thank you so much for sticking around. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks. I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. And I'll see you soon.